Hello. I'm Michael Morella. I'm an editor at U.S. News and World Report. I cover education and healthcare. And I'm excited to talk with these folks a little bit about apprenticeships and dig into some of the topics we've explored in the morning and we'll be talking about later in the day. So I want to introduce them and let them really have the spotlight. First up is Robert Hoffman, Executive Director of Accenture North America Government Relations. Thank you. And Daniel Serota, Manager of Public Affairs at Aon. So you're here to talk about a really interesting case study of an apprenticeship program in Chicago, the Chicago Apprentice Network. So I want to hear about that, but first, Daniel, would you mind kind of talking a little bit about what brought you to and Aon to this in the first place? And then...
Sure, thanks, Michael. The biggest thing that we had a retention problem in our entry-level positions. We needed to find a pathway for us to be able to keep individuals working longer, but partnering with our local community colleges to being able to create a model that would fit the need of the business. Something where we took a good look at our entry-level positions and said, what really needs a 4-year degree, or could someone from a 2-year degree, associate's degree, fill those jobs and hire locally? Outside of Aon's office building in Millennium Park in downtown Chicago is a community college, Harold Washington College. And we never hired anyone from there. So how do we bring a relationship with our local community college and bring these individuals in, but also solve a retention problem within our firm? So we created an apprenticeship program that really highlights 3 main areas of importance: HR, insurance, and IT. The overall goal, have these individuals working in jobs that may not require a 4-year degree of college to do so. And this created a great streamline for us to get talented, hungry, and driven individuals into our firm that we would have never have hired before. And this solves a business problem that we had within Aon. Our program is 2 years long. The first year is really focused on getting them used to Aon, still creating impact and doing the job at hand. And then year 2 is getting more to the nitty-gritty of insurance courses, accounting, business management, and getting embedded into our firm, where at the end of the 2 years, they're there full time and working at the same level as an individual as someone we would hire from a 4-year degree, and really creating impact. And it's created great cultural change when you're looking down the street and hiring from a pool that is 86% Black or Latino. It creates a new diverse pipeline for us to grow within our industry, our firm, and the main reason we want other companies to look at this model as a potential way to grow within their organizations as well. And Robert, maybe it'd be good if you want to talk a little bit about the Accenture story, and then we can talk about the collaboration there.
Sure, it's a different journey, but a very similar destination, which I think also made the network, the Chicago Apprenticeship Network, possible. But for us at Accenture, we had been doubling down on the challenges of skills development, for the better part of a decade, starting in 2010, through our cornerstone a community program called Skills to Succeed, where we work all over the world with not-for-profits. And from about 2011 to the end of 2018, we've worked to develop skills for 2.2 million people around the world, 500,000 here in the United States. So we've had firsthand knowledge of the challenges that not-for-profits and local colleges are facing at a macro level. But it wasn't until, actually, and it's a kind of an interesting story, one of our senior executives was at a breakfast with then Mayor Rahm Emanuel, and it was a group of business leaders, about 100, and Mayor Emanuel posed a question. He says, how many of you recruit from the local city colleges here in the Chicagoland area? How many people do you think raised their hand? 0. Yeah. So we thought, wait a minute, we've been at this from a macro standpoint. We'd also been doing a lot of research into the challenges of recruiting for jobs that may not require, 4-year degrees. So we looked inward and we thought, okay, where can we, make an impact? We too had a relationship with a city college in the Chicago area, Wilbur Wright College. So working with them, we developed an apprenticeship program, and where we focused on was where were the high demand skills jobs that we could address through a potential apprenticeship program. First place we saw was corporate IT, basically our internal IT functions, and that's where we dug in. So in our first year, we started with 5 apprenticeships, working with Wilbur Wright College, following year 8. And then in our third year, we had 27 apprentices, and we expanded and focused on IT in a customer-facing fashion. And it's been, absolutely tremendous. We're on track. It's not just in Chicago. At the same time we were working in Chicago, we also developed a program in San Antonio. And now we're on track to essentially train 450 individuals through apprenticeship programs in 20 cities across North America. It's been tremendous, and I'll tell you 2 reasons why. Well, make it 3, but I'll be quick.
Okay.
There are 3 Ds here that I think are important to think about. We have a skills deficit in this country. It's great to have 3.5% unemployment, but the harsh reality is that there are a number of people, our labor participation rate is just not where it needs to be. And so we have people who are sitting on the bench. They're not in the game. And the reason why is because the skills don't match up to where the demand are. You can talk to anyone, the number of tech job openings is anywhere from 700,000 to 2 million. But we're not training people fast enough. And yet we have people who are in a position where they could contribute, but there's no pipeline for them. There's no opportunity for them. So can we reduce that skills deficit? We also have a digital divide. You've heard that phrase before, I'm sure, where the concern is that an innovation economy is leaving lots of people behind and opportunity behind. And then the last D is disruption, technology disruption, and how that's changing how we look at jobs. Our global CEO, Julie Sweet, thinks that apprenticeships, and rightfully so, and she's been the driving force of our apprenticeship program in North America. But with apprenticeships, we can address every one of those Ds, that divide, that deficit, and that disruption, and we're seeing that impact for us as well as for Aon.
So there's a lot to unpack there, and could you talk us a little bit about why you came together, why, working with city colleges, working with government, working with other employers, take us through how you got to this network and its now 3-year track record.
Yeah, I think the mindset was if we can do it, other employers can do it too. And other employers probably have the same issue that we have. And apprenticeship is something where you have to keep the high qualityness of making sure it's career driven, but it can be customizable based on what your need and demand is to make it work. It gives you an opportunity to partner with your local community college to create jobs, J-O-B, which I think is so huge in our community college space where individuals are going to school, but they're not landing in career-oriented jobs. And we at Aon wanted to change the mindset of Chicago to start hiring individuals in the community college landscape. The network started with Aon and Accenture. We added Zurich Insurance, which is in Schaumburg, who partners with Harper College. In 2018, we added Walgreens and McDonald's as another great partners and great advocates in the retail side. In 2019, we added JP Morgan Chase, we added Rush University Hospital, we added, the list can go on, we're now at 26 employers, 520 apprentice roles going into 2020, and our goal, drum roll, end of 2020, 1,000 apprenticeships in Chicago. And we are going to work hard to get there, and we're encouraging employers to really take a look at their roles to see if there's opportunities to do so. Those are some of the employers that are on the list, but we have 26 employers that are partnering now with either their community college, their nonprofits, and other third-party providers to help create these types of jobs.
Let me just add just a couple of things. Keep in mind that all of this has happened in less than 2 years.
Correct.
Now, I think the important thing to note is that Daniel Serota is the John Lennon of the Chicago Apprenticeship Network. Michael Chiappetta, my counterpart in Chicago, he's the Paul McCartney of the Chicago Apprenticeship Network, and I'm Ringo. But I think, one of the amazing lessons from the network experience that we've had so far is, there's nothing like success to breed interest and to breed, more desire for more of the same. And earlier this year, we launched an initiative through a number of partners, Chicago Apprenticeship Network, obviously, the Joyce Foundation, the Pritzker Trubert Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, and a number of great companies like Salesforce.org, JP Morgan Chase, to launch Apprenticeship 2020 with the goal really of supercharging the work that we've done over the last couple of years. The goal being to add on more apprenticeships through building capacity. We have to demonstrate that what we're doing can be scaled. And so what this initiative is designed to do is let's invest more in the city colleges to build their capacity to support apprenticeships, and they're going to be, through this initiative, establishing an Apprenticeship and Workforce Solutions office. And we can also fund some great partners like 1 Million Degrees, which is this tremendous nonprofit that's doing an enormous amount of support in the form of mentorships and pre-employment training. They've been tremendous. Let's help them build that capacity. So, so the secret is, and I'll divulge something, a little tidbit. We're actually working on some research we hope to release very soon. But I think what I can say is that we're just scratching the surface, I think. In fact, Harvard Business Review did an analysis, and they project that the number of core professions that can support apprenticeships is likely to triple from 27 to about 74. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means that it will create, according to Harvard Business Review, about 3.3 million additional apprenticeships for the national economy. So the potential is really, really there in Chicago and all across the country. That was a Ringo applause. You got a Lennon.
Okay, good.
But who's George Harrison in this?
We're always welcoming new members of the band.
Well, you talked about the secret, and what's interesting to me is that a lot of this is not secret. I mean, you're sharing this information in a playbook that you've put together for others, which offers some really great details and case studies of some of the programs you talked a little bit about.
And the big reason why we did that, we're not here to hide anything. This is a workforce strategy, and the reason we created this employer network is us as employers, we'll be blunt with you, and we'll tell you what works and what doesn't work. And it's something where those conversations between CHROs and CHROs, it helps, and it helps grow. And the playbook that I think is in the app, you can click on it. It's something that we wanted to make it where if you wanted to start your own apprentice program, this is 1 to 50. This is how we got started. These are the roles we looked at. Learn about some of the apprentices that have been part of our program, their stories, their backgrounds. It will help you understand that there's a bigger picture here, and there's a way to be able to solve your workforce strategy of the future. And the legitimacy of it, that this is a workforce strategy, not a charity program. This is something that we see as a viable pipeline across the country. And for Aon, we're going to continue to look to scale in our other offices, but we're not rushing it. We want to make sure it's successful, and we want to make sure the roles are there for it to be viable. And another key thing on the Apprentice Network that I think is important is every quarter we host networking events at a different employer. To being able to give the opportunity not only for the apprentices to meet other apprentices, but for new employers to come in and really meet them. You want to talk about the best salesperson. Hear the story of some of the apprentices and what they're doing and the impact they're making on their firm. If you don't jump on it, I would be shocked, because that's what we have seen after every single one of these apprentice networking events, a new employer coming in. Our next one, if anyone's in Chicago or based in Chicago, is going to be at Journey Care in Glenview during National Apprenticeship Week. We want to be able to promote this and be able to get this out, and we hope other cities looks at this as a viable option to create their own networks and kind of grow it. And Accenture, Aon, and any of those partners are a resource, and we want to be helpful for anyone out there.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add, and it's a great summary, is all of this would not be possible. We are simply the drivers behind the dreamers. And the dreamers are, one of them right there is Julie Sweet, our global CEO at Accenture. Mr. Case, a great case at Aon. The Chicago Apprenticeship Network was their vision. But more importantly, that leadership buy-in from the very top is critical, and that's something that we do point out. And it's not just obviously in the C-suite, but also in the lines of business where we need to find where those on-demand jobs are. And for us at Accenture, we live the playbook every single day. It's, Julie Sweet is briefed and contributes on a regular basis. Our new chief executive for North America, Jimmy Etheridge, our regional lead, Pallavi Verma, who Daniel knows quite well. We are talking about this, every single day. And I talked before about the fact that we focused on IT internally and customer facing, but we're now actually broadening our apprenticeship reach and looking at apprenticeships for HR, for finance, and for marketing. It's a commitment that we're making, and I do want to just also reinforce another. I'm doing a lot of reinforcing of your great points.
Well, thank you.
I'm just an echo chamber for you. But seriously though, I think to Daniel's point about this is of interest. This isn't just simply doing right by the community. Doing right by the community is doing right for the community that is Accenture. And one of the benefits of breaking down these barriers is diversifying our employees. And we demonstrated through our own research that diversity and innovation move hand in hand. And this apprenticeship program is paying dividends for us in terms of diversifying our workforce and really driving our innovative capacity.
Well, we just have a couple minutes left, but I want to ask a question about some of the challenges. You talked a little bit about changing the mindset and getting this multi-sector buy-in, which I'm sure is challenging but rewarding. Are there one or two big challenges that you think you've seen or you've overcome in Chicago that you would want to share with these folks from?
I think it's education. It's really giving people an understanding of what it is and what the model is, both internally and externally. I think is something that, as Robert said, this has only been going on for 2 years. And we're really changing the way apprenticeship is looked at. As everyone knows in this room, blue collar is kind of the way it's been. It's now evolving into this white collar way of doing business. And this is something that it takes time to educate your own colleagues, but also externally, in changing the way people talk about workforce. Yeah, I think is one that I see.
Yeah, and I think we talk about the pipeline, and how we channel people, to jobs. But I think even more important is again that community element. One of our apprentices, Loida Velate, she works internally in corporate IT. Went through our apprenticeship program. She was a casualty of the 2008 financial crisis. And really took a step back and assessed what she wanted to do. And so she decided to pursue an IT certificate at Wilbur Wright College. And she discovered our apprenticeship program, went through it. She's now working as a cybersecurity analyst. But more importantly, she went to 3 of her community college classmates and encouraged them to pursue apprenticeships. She's also a mentor at Girls Who Code. So that to me is the residual benefit. In other words, barriers, breaking down barriers, and in the hopes that that community enrichment of people who, not too long ago basically thought, there's no role for me in IT. The only road is through a 4-year college. Nope, lots of roads can lead to great, good skilling, high-paying jobs.
Yeah. Well, are there one or two takeaways for local chambers of commerce? This is a question from the audience who are looking to get something like this off the ground in their own communities.
Yeah, partner. Talk about this. Create this as a model to move forward. We are fortunate enough. The Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce is in Chicago, as you can imagine, and they are looking to partner with small and mid-sized businesses on getting apprentice programs going. You've heard and seen a lot of the organizations that you are seeing are big. This also works for small and mid-sized businesses if you can get a partner like a chamber to help with the education and help with the streamline to create a cohort mentality, which I think is really critical, is getting a cohort of apprentices that know each other, that meet each other, and that can work together in the classroom to then reflect that back in the workplace for growth. And I think a great way for local chambers and chambers of commerce to get engaged is by having these conversations with your employer base of how this model can work for them and how it can grow.
Part of the reason why he's the Lennon and Michael Chiappetta's the McCarthy is they'll go on the road, and in the spirit of the Beatles song, Help, they'll help anyone.
Yes.
And we've had conversations, Bay Area Council, we've been helping them. They've been pursuing things, the Bay Area Council being in the San Francisco Bay Area. We're having similar conversations in St. Louis, in Los Angeles. It really is a matter of just sitting them down, showing them the playbook, showing that commitment, and then bringing people together, the nonprofits, the colleges, local governments. Again, success, the signs of success breed success.
Correct.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us today, and I want to thank Daniel and Robert, and thank you all.
Thank you for the time.